Welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon. We are coming live with breaking news. I know all of you have heard the news. Kiely Rodni has been recovered by Adventures with Purpose in 14 feet of water, vehicle upside down. Terrifying, heartbreaking news, but when I heard the news, I said to myself, this is good for the family. The family needed answers. They got the answers thanks to the specialized dive team assisting in the search for Kiely Rodni. The Adventures with Purpose crew, Doug Bishop, and the 6 folks who went down there searching as of Friday night, Saturday, all day Saturday, and today. I tip my cap to those guys, the guys and girls behind Adventures with Purpose. They said they didn't want to find her because they wanted her found alive. But, pending autopsy and confirmation from the medical examiner's office, they went with a mission, and their mission was to find her, and they did. They found her. I want to say a special thank you to the moderators, the Patreon supporters, and all of the channel members and folks who are joining from Police Off the Cuff. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being respectful. Most of us were confident that if she was in any of the bodies of water around and surrounding the campground, that they would be the team that would find her. And again, we owe a great deal of gratitude and respect to Adventures with Purpose, and also any and all search and rescue and recovery teams that go out there and do this job for free. So I tip my cap to those men and women who are out there, brave, doing God's work. I like to say doing God's work because that's exactly what they're doing. They're doing God's work. And Kiely Rodni's mom, now Lindsay, has the answers. She has the answers. There's no more there's no more pleas. We won't hear any more pleas from her to find my daughter. Adventures with Purpose, they did that. So I'm going to play a little piece. Fox 40 News was embedded with Adventures with Purpose, and Fox 40 News did a piece. This is this is older news. If you haven't seen it yet, I encourage you to go over to Fox 40 News and watch. But I'll play just a little bit of this. This was, I believe, from yesterday. All right. So as we know from this report, this was from yesterday. She was found in Prosser.
Well, we start tonight with Paul Songa, who joins us now live from Nevada County near the Pleasant Fire with the latest on the firefight.
Let me stop that. So she was found in Prosser Lake in 14 feet of water, upside down. And I want everyone to please in the chat send out prayers and prayer emojis in the chat for Kiely Rodni's mom and her dad, Lindsay. They need our support. They need our prayers. This is definitely a trying time for them. 16-year-old daughter, they now have the answers. They do not have complete answers. Those complete answers will come from the forensic examination. Was it an accident? Was she shot? Was she strangled? These are all things that are going to have to happen. Joining me live here from a remote location, I know Dave Rader from EquuSearch. You guys all know him. He's been kind enough to come and join me live. He's a friend, a brother. He runs Midwest EquuSearch, and they search for the missing. Lost is not alone. Dave Rader knows what this difficult task is like. He's done it many times before, and I asked him to join us here to talk about this recovery and some of the recoveries that he's worked on and dealing with the family. Dave, thank you so much for joining. Dave Rader, the operations director of EquuSearch Midwest. Dave, I know you know what happened. I thank you for joining. Any thoughts on Kiely Rodni, the search team that was out there, how difficult that is to make that notification?
I mean, it's always difficult when you do find somebody and then you have to notify, when the parents are told and the family members are told. I mean, it's horrific when, it's sad. Again, we don't know all the answers yet to the circumstances, but now the worry is gone. They don't have to wonder anymore. They know where their daughter is.
Yeah, that's the only good part about this thing. If there's anything that good, we could talk about what's good, is that the family no longer is in suspended animations. They're not in limbo anymore. They know their daughter is no longer here with us. And Adventures with Purpose, the dive team, Doug Bishop and his crew, they went out there. They had a mission. They took care of business. And Dave, you've done that so many times with EquuSearch in Texas and EquuSearch Midwest. You want to talk a little bit about how you guys handle those kind of notifications? I know first and foremost, law enforcement gets notified, and then the family gets notified. How difficult is that to make that kind of a notification to a family you're working closely with?
There's no easy way. Our last recovery from water was about 2 months ago on a case that the car was missing. We did 2 extensive searches with over 200 people driving close to 400 square miles. And here the most difficult part is that he was literally on his own property in a pond. So what made that difficult is that we came up with the car and the family was there when we found the car. So there was no time to sit there and get with law enforcement. They already knew that we had the car. So that was very difficult for them to watch the process unfold. Again, it was a relief to them, but it was still very difficult. So we made contact with law enforcement, but the family was there. So there's never an easy way.
Right. And, people in the chat are saying, and I'm seeing some of these questions, and these are good, valid questions. After all says, wouldn't law enforcement be responsible for informing the family first? Yes, but yes and no, because Adventures with Purpose was called, I believe, they alluded to that they were called by someone from the extended family. So if they were in communication with extended family, they found the vehicle upside down in 14 feet of water. They made a positive identification visually that they had her in the vehicle. Again, they did the right thing. They notified the police, and the medical examiner's office will be the ones to make a positive identification. So the car will be removed. That was over an hour ago that Adventures with Purpose posted that on their Facebook page. There's a complete, there's a complete package that comes out. The medical examiners, the crime scene investigators, they don't want to tamper with any evidence. I would imagine that they located the vehicle and it was, they came back up. They probably made notification first and foremost to the police if they weren't there with them already, and then made a phone call. Hey, I'm pretty sure, they seemed 100% sure they found her vehicle and her in the car. I don't think that they would post that on their Facebook page if they didn't have concrete, very solid evidence, visually, preliminarily on the scene. But of course, as we all know, Dave, you can solidify this. I know how this process goes. The medical examiner's office, the homicide investigators come out to the scene. They want to preserve the crime scene if there in fact is a crime scene. If this is an accident scene, accident investigators will determine from forensics and from a whole slew. And we're going to have Ed Wallace. He's in Iraq. He's embedded in Iraq right now, 7 hours ahead of us. So it's early in the morning. But Ed has already reached out to me and we've been communicating. We are going to, of course, have a moment of mourning for the family, and then we will do in the future, in the next 3 or 4 days, a complete forensics live stream where we will tell you in no uncertain terms exactly what happens and how the identification process goes. But Dave, I'm sure that you've been in these positions where you've recovered remains on the ground and in the water, and that's pretty much the pecking order of how it goes. Isn't that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, I mean, again, we just had 2 recoveries in 3 days last week. The first lady we found, we made notification, and again, we always go to law enforcement first. then it's up to them. And how we do things is I want law enforcement to make the notifications to the family. That's how we do it. Not everybody else does it that way. We all have our way of doing things, but with us with Midwest, we let law enforcement make that notification. And until that happens, we put nothing out on social media until all family, we feel, or the police make a statement through their channels to make it public. Then at that point in time, then we'll put it up on our website, because the last thing that I want to know, or I want to do, is have a family notified because we put something up on our website when it's not official.
Right.
So I think it needs to, sometimes go a little bit longer. Let all the family members make their contacts for people that are out of state. And then when the police finally make it notable out there, then at that point in time, that's when we go ahead and put it up on our page.
Absolutely, and I want to just say as a disclaimer, we don't know the components and the inner workings of this case. Everyone is different. They could have actually had a family member following them for all we know. There could have been an aunt, an uncle, or some direct family member embedded with Adventures with Purpose. So that could be the case too. Wild Z Pony, thank you so much for the $20 super chat. God, please hold close Kiely's grieving family. Amen to that. Amen. And all of you guys in the chat saying hello to Dave. Again, this is a part of what searching for the missing. As Dave and Twyla and all of EquuSearch, they say lost is not alone, right? This is what they strive to do day in and day out. It is a job that is not for everybody. You need to be strong-willed. You need to have a strong mind and a great sense of awareness. You have to be aware of the feelings of the family, and at the same time, you need to get your job done. And listen, I tip my cap to Adventures with Purpose, EquuSearch Midwest, the Class Kids Foundation, and any search organizations across the globe who do God's work. This is God's work. I want to just show quickly, Dave, if you don't mind. I know you've got limited time, and I appreciate. Hey, brother, I always reach out to you in the last minute. I had a whole house full of people here today. My wife's, mom passed away, and we had the funeral on Monday. So her sister, my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law, my brother, my sister, we had the whole, outdoor backyard family gathering here today. My phone lit up like a Christmas tree, and it lit up. And I immediately looked at it, and my heart sunk. My heart sinks when I think about the notifications that I've made through the police department to family of loved ones either being murdered or found dead. It is the most difficult thing to do, to go to a family and say, hey, we have your loved one, and no less a child, a 16-year-old kid.
Kids are the worst.
It is.
Kids are the worst.
It's difficult at best. So Thank you to everyone who's here. Thank you to everyone who is giving kind words and support, not only for the Rodney family, but for my family and all of the missing. There are 100,000 missing person cases annually that are new and active. Out of the 800,000 that go missing, most of them return home. Most of them are, clarified and found through either a runaway and alive and well. But 100,000 every year are active in additional cases. So I wanted to show quickly, if you don't mind, Dave. I wanted to show the actual Prosser Creek Reservoir, lake, and things of that nature. I want people to look at the vastness of this search area. So I'm gonna go full screen with it, and I'm just gonna let you guys look at it. And Dave and I we could talk about this, but this is what they were working with. This is what Adventures of Purpose was working with. Now the water could have been receded because of drought and little bits of rain. They were talking about 14 feet of water where she was where she was found. But this drone footage it gives you a good idea of the the large area that they had to go. Now we don't know about the intel, Dave. We heard Doug Bishop, who's the lead team diver of Adventures with Purpose. Doug said that we're working closely with law enforcement, but we cannot tell you. The news was talking with him and reporting with him. The news cannot tell. We cannot tell the news about the intel that we have. So even though we see this body of water and we go, oh my goodness, this is how did they do this? They may have had advanced intel of last known location, because we know that her phone records were finally retrieved, and they might have had advanced intel that would have put them in a position to search in a pinpointed area. Dave, have you had that happen in some of your cases where the lead law enforcement investigation confides in you guys hold it close, and you utilize that in your pinpoint searching?
Yeah, 100%. We don't let anything out of the bag, only for the simple reason we don't know the circumstances and we don't know who all the players of the games are. So, the last thing that you want to do is let something public that maybe, if this was foul play, then the perpetrator would sit there and could move something or change something. So again, we keep everything close to the vest with law enforcement. We don't share anything. It goes from their lips to our ears. And and I'm pretty sure, again, if we go back and analyze this, I'm thinking that, from what I understand, that the cell phone pings were a major contributor to this, because I know that they were still looking for the phone, I believe, on ground. They were doing ground searches for that phone. But again, what kind of, and me and Rocky Pastorino actually had a conversation a couple days ago. I said, I think that car's in water. And I literally told him, I says, when a car goes into water, 9 times out of 10, it will float for a while. So it'll go out further, and then it'll nosedive because the engine is heavier, and then it will flip over. So 9 times out of 10, when you find or recover a car that's in a body of water, usually 9 times out of 10, that car has flipped upside down.
Right. Yeah. And that's what we're looking at here. We're looking at Prosser Creek Reservoir. There's many different names for it, but this is it. And this is the body of water I believe she was recovered in. And the recovery is pending autopsy and, forensics confirmation from law enforcement. But again, as we look at Adventures with Purpose, I mean, I'm going to stop that there. Wow.
And the other thing too is, Ron, is that that's a big lake, but then you also have to take out a lot of the equation as access points to where a car could enter that lake. So again, boat ramps are a perfect indication, or flat spots that just go into the pond itself without having any kind of like, if there's cattails, if something's been broke, that's not normal. So you would see an access point there also. So it's beautiful. It's large, but then you have to break that down in common sense. You would go with where could that car possibly go to enter that water and start from there.
Yeah. It's a lot of work. People think, okay, the Adventures of Purpose, they're going to just go out there, they're going to launch their boats, they're going to light up their Garmin sonar, and they're going to have, and they're going to find her immediately. I think, strongly that the intel that they received from law enforcement, which would never be released to the general public, it helped them to get them into an area where they had some potential possibility of finding her. But the questions come out from the folks who are following this thing closely. Thank you, Walsey Pony, for the $50 super chat. She says, "Lost is not alone. Hearts and prayers for EquuSearch." Thank you so much for that. Thank you for the super chat. And another one came in from Annie T. Thank you for the $20 super chat with hearts. Much love and appreciation. But yeah, sonar, Dave, I know that you guys are well aware of this stuff. How strongly does this play in location of not just vehicles or things underwater. Sonar technology, I mean, it's been around for a long time, but it gets more advanced as time goes on, and some of these devices and these items, I know you talked about having that where you can to put a boat out there or put a kayak out there, and then you can really get a good view of complete bodies of water. How does that work? Can you explain that to some of the folks?
Well, we have access to side scan sonar through Team Waters, but what Dennis had done is actually made a remote controlled sonar unit that we use for small retention ponds. So basically, I can throw this remote controlled sonar unit in, and it was all built by hand and designed by Dennis. And what it does is I can put this in, do 2 passes in a halfway decent sized pond, and I can tell you exactly what's in that pond within probably 10 to 15 minutes without putting a body in through divers or anything. So we have the best of both worlds. We have access to side scan sonar, which Adventures with a Purpose actually has, or if it's a smaller body of water, like we found Curtis in, we literally put the boat in, the little buddy in. It's only about 3 foot long. We remote controlled it, brought it back, downloaded the imagery into the computer, and within 15 minutes we knew that we had the car. So it shows it actually shows the vehicle. And then what I did is actually called out law enforcement, and then they brought out their ROV. They had Ohio Task Force 1's ROV that actually came in, which is an underwater camera, laid eyes on the car just for confirmation before we even put a diver in the pond. So then once we had confirmation, then at that point in time, then they put divers in the water, and then we recovered the car and Curtis.
Wow. Amazing work that you guys do. Hey, Dave, people are questioning, I'm already seeing it on DutyRon.com. Folks are asking me, hey, the local law enforcement, we saw video footage from the news that they put divers in, different bodies of water. I know there was multiple, and we talked about this on previous live streams, not with you per se, but we did talk about this with Ed Wallace and a couple of other investigators. How can, search groups like you and Adventures with Purpose and others go out there and do these jobs that we would think, well, the local law enforcement and state and federal, they throw the kitchen sink, we hope, at these things. And how come, the locals there, and this is a head scratcher, and this is a think tank thing that I talk about, even to myself and with Ed, there are law enforcement constraints with overtime and pay and issues of how much time we're going to spend searching for this stuff and different kinds of regulations that they have with throwing divers and putting man hours and like they can't work 24 hours straight. But a group like yourself can work tirelessly on this thing and have nobody saying, hey, you guys got to come back in here. Does that come into play with these searches and success rates and things of that nature?
Well, I think what it is, Ron, is again, you being a law enforcement and everything. I mean, again, law enforcement is not designed to do searching. They're there to do the investigation, to put people like us in Adventures with a Purpose in the right spots for us to do what we do best. So it's like a hand in glove scenario. Plus, again, you have a lot of municipalities that don't have that kind of manpower, and number two is they don't have the budgets to throw at this for long periods of time, because this isn't the only case that's on, I'm sure, in that municipality's books. I mean, there's other things that go on, and so you try to have like the search teams. I don't care who it is, a search team that comes in there and actually becomes their eyes and their ears and their boots on the ground while they're trying to put you in the right spot and processes of elimination. So we're not under any kind of time restraints to where they are, because they have to sit there and figure out into their budget how many man hours can they do, and putting in divers, to sit there and cover this kind of ground. You may only have to put two divers in. And that's people don't understand, when you dive and breathe compressed air for a length of time, that takes a toll on you. It's very stressful. But and then you put somebody in a river, then you're fighting the current. So there's so many factors of, it's not just like going and let's throw a suit on and let's go out and just willy-nilly. You have to sit there, and again, you have to do your grid and to make sure that you don't miss anything. And putting a diver in compared to using sonar is it's just not happening. Sonar is your best bet, as far as, especially in larger bodies of water.
And Dave, thank you for that. That gives us a great insight to this stuff. But I think also, too, these professional dive teams like Adventures with Purpose and many, many others that are out there, I really feel that, they use their equipment efficiently. They look at these bodies of water, and they're not just randomly diving in them based on tips. They're diving in them based on what their sonar is showing them, right?
Correct.
So
it comes from law enforcement first, to say, okay, here's so here's the generalized area. So then they'll look and see what bodies of water that is around that general vicinity. And I think it was in that news piece that you had on, it's a process of elimination. So you go with what makes the most sense, and then you start doing each and every one, and eliminating it. You'll either find them, or you have to move on to the next one and eliminate that one until you come up with that car.
Yeah. D Sunshine, that's a great question. She says, what happens after she was found? Do they investigate before they pull the car out of the water, or after? They get the car out of the water, D Sunshine. Very good question, by the way. Thank you for that. They get the car out of the water, and then they'll flatbed it, and they'll bring it to a secure facility where they can do the forensic investigation. It's not going to be done on the scene. Maybe some preliminary stuff they'll look for. A crime scene and homicide detectives will come out to the scene. It'll be a great deal of time before they remove the actual vehicle with the remains in it. But those remains will be brought back to the medical examiner's office, and they will do forensics in a medical examiner's office. They'll look for broken hyoid bones. They'll look for stress fractures. They'll look for stab wounds. If, depending on the condition of the body, of what they're working with, they'll do all different types of forensic examinations to figure out the cause and manner of death. And that's what we'll be hearing next in this case. And it may not be immediately, and it may be immediately. It depends on the condition of the remains, and also if there is anything that's clearly visible. Let's get to some of these super chats and say thank you to everybody. Beth Ellen, thank you so much. She says, Ron, thank you for always being real. Hey, listen, there's real people behind these terrible tragedies, and we don't know if this was a crime or if this was an accident. And we now are reliant on the investigators to figure out whether Kiely Rodni was murdered, or she or was just a victim of an accident. And that's what's the next step. But the family has to mourn now and have process this horrific situation. It's a parent's worst nightmare. It's anybody's worst nightmare. Nobody wants to see their loved one, especially a daughter or a son or young child, dead. So this is a look at the campground. This is a look at the drone footage at Prosser Lake Reservoir. It gives you a great idea of the vast area. Searchers on foot have probably scoured through quite a bit of this location here. 19,000 or 20,000 man hours. Dave, do you know what that looks like? 19 or 20,000 man hours. You were down on the Summer Wells search. Does it look like 2 weeks down in Spring Creek, searching for summer wells? I mean, different terrain, not as much
Different
water.
terrain, but I mean, again, that's a lot of people. And just like what we had on Summer's case, I mean, we had, I think at one point in time, when we were finished, I believe the count was well over 1,000 people looked for her at some point in time. I'm not saying that it was all at one time, but you have that many people, and you're talking about 10 to 12 hour days from sun up to sundown, and then the plotting and the and that's the other thing too is everybody thinks that they just go home and show up the next day. No, there's a lot of planning that what's the next step. So then you have those people that are coming back the next day. You have to have their assignments. So there's a lot of prep work that goes into this. So there's a lot of man hours that is put forth on a search for sure.
Absolutely, 100%. I got a couple of others. Dr. Ed Moskowitz, who's a big fan and a big supporter of Crime Time with DutyRon and EquuSearch, sends in $10. Thank you, Dr. Ed and Julie. They say, thank you, DutyRon and Dave Rader, for explaining prayers for the family. Amen to that. Thank you, Doc. We appreciate you. Stacy, Soul for Music, sends in a $10 super chat. She says, so sad. Sending many prayers to her family and friends. Thank you, Ron and Dave Rader, for all that you guys do. Peace sign, hearts, prayers. Rest in peace, Kiely. Yeah, man, it's freaking sad. Jen Lowe, always great to see you. Joey Brooklyn's here. Matty Boy Sully. All of our great moderators and friends are jumping in. Jojo, Jolene, Pete Pranzo, Lieutenant Pete Pranzo, Harlem Raiders, retired NYPD. Sergeant Bill Cannon was just live talking about this case. He did a lot of coverage. Pippadot, good to see you. Thank you for the redirect, Sergeant Bill, for redirecting your folks coming on over. Yeah, listen, EquuSearch, Adventures with Purpose, and all of these search organizations, they do not get paid. They rely on generous donors like yourselves. So the folks who are following these cases, these missing person cases, these mysteries, if you will, this was a mystery. Nobody knew up until now where she was, what happened to her. We still don't know what happened to her. We do now have her recovered, and we're relying on the forensics and the investigative process to now give us more answers, because we're always going to have questions. We're always going to question. And people are, like I said, are going to question, why didn't law enforcement find her? Why does it take a search group to find her? That's frustrating. But it also shows you, Dave, and it shows us here, everybody that's listening to this, we need groups like this. Without them, who knows when she would have been found?
No, it's a team effort. And again, it goes back to law enforcement not having the resources to do this. So, I'm very blessed to have the EquuSearch family, not only here, but down in Texas and all across the country. And, great groups like this. I mean, it really does make a difference. I mean, it really, truly does. Like I said, last week we had one in Kentucky. 2 days later, we had a team of 3 to go over to Illinois, and we found that guy in 2 minutes. So, I mean, it works. But thank God for the volunteers that actually show up and want to do this. It's not for everybody, that's for sure.
Oh no, 100%. This is a drone footage of the area that Kiely Rodni was recovered by Adventures with Purpose, and this is giving you an overview of the massive on-taking. Again, like I said, they probably weren't searching like a needle in a haystack. They had probably advanced intel, and I'm hoping that some of that advanced intel led to them quickly. They spent yesterday at a different location, at actually 2 or 3 different locations. They cleared those locations. I played that piece for you guys here. And then today they were on to this location. And this is massive. I mean, we're looking at this from a drone footage, Dave. But yeah. I mean, you're seeing this probably for the first time, and I'm letting this thing play. You know, if you were on this case and you were, you know, doing this, this would be what you would be looking at with Twyla. You'd have Tony or one of your drone folks, Gene Robinson, throw up a drone, send you this intel, and you'd be like, okay, this is what we're working with. We got our hands full, I would say, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Drone it first. Let's see what we got. Let's look at recon it. What makes the most sense as far as on where she was in relationship to what access points would she have had to this pond or lake. That's a pretty good sized lake, I would say. So we would look at all the access points, and then at that point in time, then I would start the sonar and start eliminating each access point.
Yeah, yeah. And at some point in this, the drone footage that I played here, and it the combination between these two drone footages that I shared with you guys, it shows there's some of the stuff that comes up, but it shows the actual boat ramp, and I believe that was one of the sticking points, one of the talked about early on to start at. You know, start at the boat launch and the boat ramps. It doesn't necessarily mean that's where her car went off. We don't know if she, you know, there's so many scenarios here, and we're not going to get into it, but we are sending prayers. We're sending strength to Lindsay, her mom, her dad, and the extended family of Kiely Rodni. They are in mourning now because they're one step closer to finding out what happened to their daughter. They still won't have complete answers until the forensic exam is completed, and that could take days. And as we know, we have Cassie Carley. We're still waiting for tox reports to come back almost 4 months later. We will have Barbara Butcher, the chief of staff, retired from the New York City Medical Examiner's Office. She will chime in on this one. You know, if you're new and your first time coming across Crime Time with DutyRon, again, I help out with Dave with the law enforcement liaison side. Bill Cannon, retired homicide detective sergeant. You know, we offer any assistance that we can from afar to EquuSearch Midwest, and we would, to go one step further, I would help any group that would that reached out to me for law enforcement liaison type stuff. I would be happy to help and try to, you know, bridge that gap, because sometimes it's difficult. As we know, we're not going to go into that here, but sometimes it's difficult to get law enforcement to open their arms up and say, hey, come on in and help us. They didn't seem to waver here. It seems like they welcomed them with open arms, and it might have been because of advanced intel that they had. We don't know, but God bless Doug Bishop and Adventures with Purpose and Dave Rader and his squad and everybody that does this. And I keep saying it because it's so important. You know, get out there, volunteer, help them do this God's work. Help them because they need you, right? Dave, I'll say this till I can't say it anymore. We need your help. We need people to volunteer. We need people to step up. We need people to donate. We need people to continue so we can bring the missing home, and that Lost is Not Alone can be upheld into the years going forward. Yeah, Dave, I appreciate you stopping in. Hey, could I take a couple of questions from the audience before I let you go?
Not a problem.
Yeah,
I'm losing light, so I just didn't want to.
No,
I didn't want to go dark on you.
I see it. We got you pretty good. Thank you for doing that, and
absolutely,
and thank you to whoever you're with, keeping you here with us for a couple of more minutes.
Sure.
All right, so here's Nana for Life says, Dave Rader, could you all please come back to look for Summer Wells? Dave, I'll let you talk on that. Dave?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, so there was a comment on the screen. They said, Dave Rader, could you all please come back and look for Summer Wells?
You know, and again, I've said it 100 times, and I'll send it 100 more times. Is that if law enforcement would invite us back down and want us to clear another area, without a doubt, I would sit down and make that happen within a minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
100%. And I know that to be true. I know that to be true 1 gazillion%. So there's a lot of people saying stuff like never leave a friend behind, no matter what you have to do. Ocean Girl, there's so much to learn from this and all of the different scenarios and situations that happen. Um, you, you know, all of these cases become learning experiences for safety. You know, people can take away some of the points of what happened here to Kiely Rodni, and they can apply it to future safety, safety courses or safety conversations, lectures that go on in high schools. All of this could be used as an example of sticking close together when you're with somebody, even if you're an adult. I know, like, when I was younger and we would go out, and the girls that we would hang out with, they all would stick together. They would all be holding hands and sticking together with each other, and nobody would leave anybody alone. But you'd have those instances where it would happen. It's just a sad reminder that in this day and age we live in, you can't, take your eye off your friend. It's almost just like a parent with a child. When you're out and in a vulnerable situation where there's hundreds of people partying, you can't take an eye off your best buddy. And I'm not blaming any of the girls or any of the folks who were with her. It's just that, you can't be careful enough. And if drinking's involved and drugs or anything that's like that is involved, and somebody's at a point where they're not, where they can't fend for themselves, don't turn your back on them, stick with them. And I'm not saying that that's what happened in this case, but there is a potential for that. Kiely Rodni, if you're just tuning in, was recovered tentatively by Adventures with Purpose, pending official notification by the medical examiner's office, official identification process. The law enforcement was notified a little bit over 2 hours ago by Adventures with Purpose. The family was notified. It's a sad ending to this missing person case that went on over 2 weeks. Dave, I know you've been following it. People have been asking me, hey, why was EquuSearch not in on this thing? Were you guys behind the scenes talking a little bit about this case? Could you tell the audience a little bit about Kiely Rodni, if you guys had anything going on back and forth between you and Tim?
We got the phone call to come help, since Tim was a lot closer, so we handed it off down to Texas. I think that they were in, I don't know if they were in communication with law enforcement or not. I'm not privy to that end of it, but I know that we were asked to come out. So, again, I'm not too sure where they were in this with Tim and Texas's end of it, but I know that we were contacted for sure.
Outstanding. We don't know. I don't know if Adventures with Purpose is a charity or if they're a 501c3. I'm sure that you can go over to their Facebook page and go and check them out. There's quite a bit of details and quite a bit of stuff on their page. I looked at their Facebook page. They have a post in regards to this. I'll play the Fox 40 report. Dave, I appreciate you taking out the time.
It's always my pleasure. I'd do anything in the world for you and your listeners. And again, it's an honor always to be on your show.
So for those of you who are joining on the replay or watching the replay or coming in late, this is Dave Rader, Operations Director of EquuSearch Midwest. They search for the missing. They're a 501c3 nonprofit group that goes out and searches for the missing. Dave, thank you so much for taking 47 minutes of your Sunday out with us here to talk about Kiely Rodni. Again, you've been in these positions many, many times before. These folks who did this recovery from Adventures with Purpose, they need, support. They're hurt. They hurt inside when they have these recoveries. They're human beings just like all of us. They have feelings. So get around them, support them, send them, encouraging words, not congratulations, but thankful messages, kind messages, they always go a long way. I know, Dave, you could speak kindly about that because you receive a ton of them on your groups. People just are so thankful for everything that you do, and I'm thankful for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's an emotional time. It's a very emotional. You're handling business, but then after that business has been taken care of, then all of a sudden you have this time to reflect of what you just did. And I'll tell you, it is some cases are really get to you. And having a child, that's never easy. Nobody's ever easy, but a kid 16 years old, I mean, that's
it's something that stays with you. These things are not, they're not for everybody.
No.
Like I said, the cases that we had when I was, on the police department and it involved a child, I definitely took that stuff home with me, and you can never unsee these things.
No, and water is even worse. Let me tell you that.
Yeah.
Water is worse.
Yeah, you're looking at 2 weeks in a body of water inside a vehicle. It's not a pretty scene.
No.
So we send Adventures with Purpose and all of the folks who do this job, this God's work. We send them strength, support, prayers, and positive vibes, and that's all we can do as good human beings, is get around these people and say thank you. Thank you goes a long, long way. And it's a very small way of saying thanks to the great work that these men and women do. And I know that there's women behind the work that these guys are doing. Doug is not there just with a bunch of guys. There are, behind every good man, there's a woman. And look, you have Linda and Twyla, and I can keep going on and on and on. Genova, all these people that are behind EquuSearch Midwest.
Yep.
We do this together as humans. So kudos to you guys. Dave, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ron.
I will talk to you soon. There's Dave Rader, Operations Director of EquuSearch. I love you, brother.
Love you too, guys. Appreciate you.
All right. Talk to you soon, Dave. Thanks.
Bye.
All right. There goes Dave Rader, everybody. I hope you guys enjoyed a little bit of his perspective on this and many other cases. And you heard him talk about, what they go through when they have a recovery and dealing with family members. It's not something that's pleasant, but it is something that needs to be done, and they take this stuff very seriously. Let me just show you a quick video. There's not much on this stuff, but this was from yesterday, and this is Doug Bishop from Adventures with Purpose. Fox 40 was embedded with them, and this is from yesterday. Take a listen.
Clear all this water.
He did do that. So kudos to you, Doug, and your team. As you heard, they did Donner Lake, some retention ponds, Boca Reserve, all with negative results. And then, they went out. That was Saturday, and then they went out and they took care of business.
Fox 40 News.
Let me just stop that. Hold on a second. I just want to get the footage of the reserve. Prosser Creek is just massively expansive, and they went in there and they got the job done. These guys, this is what they were working with, ladies and gentlemen, and a huge area to search, and they did an unbelievable job. ATS News says devastating. Absolutely. I'm going to look at the chat now. People are wondering where Jared is. We don't have answers. Brenda Chick, good to see you. These guys are not just randomly diving around. They're looking through their sonar. They have Garmin's, side scanning sonar. I played in my video from the other night. I played some of their previous lives and previous coverages. They do an unbelievable job, and they really do have a lot of knowledge. This is their forte. This is what they do. And there's no better. There's no better out there. If I had somebody who was missing and inside, potentially inside a vehicle, inside a body of water, those would be the guys that I'd want to, guys and girls to want to, to do this type of searching. They did a hell of a job. They need to be commended. I tip my cap to them. They are doing God's work. These cases never are easy to talk about. They're never easy to talk about. And I got to tell you, I feel strongly about the unbelievable work that's being done. Get over there, support them. I will link their website right here in the description. It'll be down below. Good to see you from Reno, Nevada. Thank you for joining. Anybody, if you're new and first time stumbling across this community, let me know if you're new by saying hello in the chat. Let me know if you're new. Anybody that's returning visitors, thank you so much for joining. Please, if you guys all can take a moment to hit the thumbs up on this video, like and subscribe to this community. We do try to give you the law enforcement perspective, what goes on behind the scenes and what happens next. And as we talked about on this case, what's going to happen next is going to be a forensic examination by the medical examiner's office. The medical examiner's office locally there will be taking over this case and doing forensic examinations to see and determine the manner and the cause of death. Manner and cause is a major next step into finding out exactly what happened to Kiely Rodni. Was she a victim of an accident? Did she go into that water accidentally? Or was she in that water under criminal means? Did something happen to her? Did somebody drive her vehicle into the water? And that is what law enforcement and the forensics team is taxed with figuring out. And that's what we have to do. We have to wait, and we have to be patient, and we have to, support this family through positive engagement on social media. No talking about you should have did this, you could have did this, you would have did this. This is now a grieving family. And I encourage everybody to support them the best way you can, So yeah, so a lot of questions are coming in. I'm going to look at the chat as we look at this drone footage. Let's see. Here's a good one. Miss Blonde Appetite says, how can they do tox tests if she's been in the water for over 2 weeks? That's a good question. And Barbara Butcher has spoken strongly. She has spoke to us strongly about that. And there is still ways to get that information forensically in a controlled environment in an exam, depending on a lot of different factors. What type of lake is this? Is it freshwater? Is it salt water? And these are all things that we need to go into down the road. But right now, I feel like, this conversation is not something to deep dive into here tonight, because this is a fresh wound for this family. And like I said, in a few days, 3 or 4 days from now, Ed Wallace and I will have a live stream where we will talk about, with Barbara and with other forensic examiners, and we'll ask those questions. I encourage you to go over to DutyRon.com and send those questions into the website. The things that you want to know. Okay, we're getting from Trucker Steve that it's fresh water. If it's fresh water, it makes it a little bit better than salt water. But again, there's so much that can be done in a controlled environment at the medical examiner's office. So we will get into that, and we'll get into it with the professionals. That is not my area it was not my profession. I wasn't into the forensics. Ed worked in the medical examiner's office. He was embedded with Barbara, and they both worked together. So he'll have the answers, and so will our professionals that we have come on. And that's what makes this a great place. It's a learning place. We will have forensic odontologists dentists will get We'll talk about dental records and things of that nature. We'll talk about removing pulp from a tooth. We'll talk about DNA. We'll talk about what can be extracted from the fluids from within the eye sockets and things of that nature. Those are some fascinating conversations that we've had on previous live streams here on Crime Time with DutyRon. Again, thank you to everybody who has joined this live stream. Kiely Rodni has been found by Adventures with Purpose somewhere around 3 o'clock California time, and that's just an estimate. I had a house full of people here today, so it was difficult for me to do a lot of research on this, but I encourage you men and women who are invested in this case to go over to Adventures with Purpose, check out their website, support them, send them donations for the God's work that they're doing. These, like I said, these men and women who are behind Adventures with Purpose and other search groups like EquuSearch Midwest. These are the heroes. These are the people who are wearing the capes, you know, along with all the partners in the federal, state, and local law enforcement, your search and rescue groups and things of that nature. They're the true heroes, you know. But today, Adventures with Purpose brought closure to yet another family. And this was their first active case, not a cold case, first time going out on an active case. You know, I want to slow this up and put it back just a little bit, because if you look at this drone footage, Loretta, thank you for the super sticker. Thank you so much for the support. If you look at this drone footage, there are so many trails and so many paths where you can drive a car along this body of water that we're approaching here. The sky is the limit for potentially where she could have drove into or where her car could have been into. Because if you look in the foreground, here's some trails that you can drive along in, or you could ride along in. And as we go along this riverbank here, you can see right up and in here where my cursor is, there is a small paved trail or road where you can get a car. And she was in a Honda CRV 2013, probably an all-wheel drive vehicle. And even if it wasn't, you can get a car and drive it up and in along here and go in it at any points here. If she was intoxicated, and these are just possibilities, if she was under the influence of drugs and or alcohol, anything could have happened. This could be a tragic accident. And Karen, you say it well. Karen says, such a nightmare. I'm going to highlight that because it's so true. This is a freaking nightmare, folks. And it is what it is. So I want to thank each and every one of you for joining me here on this 1 hour long live interactive live stream. Tony D is part of EquuSearch Midwest. 150 feet in the air makes it look so small, right? But we know it isn't small. We know it isn't small. But thank you so much to each and every one of you for the super chats, for subscribing, for being a part of this community. I always like to give away memberships to people, and I did 30 or 40 or maybe even 50 memberships on my last live. I don't know if you guys were there. If anybody's here that's new members, courtesy of moi, DutyRon, let me know in the chat if you are a channel member now. Thanks to DutyRon gifting out some channel memberships. When we get to on this this live stream, if we can get the thumbs up to 1,300, I'm going to gift away another 10 memberships to the great folks who are here, being respectful in the chat, supporting the victims and their families, supporting the great work that we do here with EquuSearch Midwest. So if you guys can quickly smash that thumbs up, and let's get the thumbs up on this live stream to 1,300. We're at 1,200 already, and I will gift out 20 memberships. 20. I'm feeling really good tonight. So let me bang out 20 memberships for you guys, and let's get a couple of more new channel members, and hopefully you guys enjoy the channel memberships. It's exclusive content that we do, Ed Wallace and I, with some professionals, and we put stuff out on the memberships, the members only, a little bit early. We'll put it out early, or we'll just have an exclusive members only live stream. So here we are at 1,200, 1.2K on the members, on the thumbs up. I got the trigger ready to be pulled to give out a couple of memberships. I like to do that. I like to gift them out to you kind folks. Let's do it. All right. If we don't get to 1,300, I'll send. Oh, there it is. Boom. You guys are awesome. You did it. Who wants to be a channel member? Make sure you are subscribed. Let me know if you're subscribed by putting a thumbs up in the chat. And let's get the chat rolling real quick. Let me know if you want a free membership to Crime Time with DutyRon. It's 30 days, so it'll take you all the way into September. We'll gift out 20 of them right now because I'm a man of my word. So let's get that going. Who wants to be a channel member? Let's do it. And then we'll wrap it up with a quick positive prayer for Kiely Rodni's family. Such a sad day, but also a bittersweet day because they brought their daughter home. So let's see who is recipient of these memberships. I just did it. The message should have came up. Let's take a peek. Who got it? You're welcome, Katina. My pleasure. My pleasure. All right. I think it's rolling through. I'm trying to see it. I would love a free membership, says Kathleen Williams. I don't want to end this thing until I see the gifting of the memberships. It's not, I don't know what's going on with that. It's that delayed. It is delayed, but it will happen. So I got to wait a couple more minutes. I'm just going to refresh the page and see if it happens while we're live. And again, I thank each and every one of you for being here. I really love and appreciate you guys. I respect you guys. I thank you for all the questions. It's chosen at random. The gifting of the memberships are chosen at random. So I have no control of that. It's whoever gets it. YouTube and Google, they choose it themselves. So I'm still looking to see who got it before we end. I gifted 20 of them. They better not rip me off. YouTube, you better not rip me off. All right, here it goes. I see it happening now. All right, holy crap. That took a long time. Brittany Tedder was gifted a membership. Congratulations, Brittany. Vanessa Rand was gifted a membership. Ann Assessments was gifted a membership. There's going to be 20 of these. Maria. Oh, Maria. There you go. Elizabeth Gregory, congratulations. Beach Bunny is saying congratulations to all the new members. All right, that was really slow. Holy cow. Where's the rest of them? Awesome. All right, it makes me feel good. Myrtle, who else? Myrtle Burke was gifted a membership by DutyRon. Diane Banks says, we love you, DutyRon, right back. Love and respect right back to you. Karen B says she would love a membership. I would love that. I hope you get one. All right, here's more. Melissa Pina got a membership. Leah Maloney, she got one. Congratulations. Congratulations to all the new members. Yes, I love it. That cost me $100, but it was well worth it. I love to do that. It's my way of giving back to the community. So it's really cool. Tina Williams, she got one. Bree Williams says thank you. Who else? That's really cool. I love it. I hope you guys enjoyed this live interactive show. This is again a bittersweet day for Kiely Rodni's family, Lindsay, her mom. I send nothing but love, nothing but support to not just only Lindsay and her family, Kiely Rodni's family, but everybody in that community, to all of her true friends and all of the people who are affected by this devastating loss. May God give them strength, prayers, and positive energy. May the law enforcement community figure out what happened. And anybody and everybody who's responsible for anything that happened to her that is of criminal in nature. The strong, long arm of the law, let that process happen. Please, I send you guys all peace, strength, and positive vibes, because it's not easy watching these cases unfold. It takes a toll on each and every one of us. Just watching these cases unfold is difficult to process. And that's why I try to give you walks in the park. I try to give you normal, everyday live streams where we just sit and talk. Because you can't just always have doom and gloom. We need to find peace. We need to find good in this world, because there is a lot of good in this world, but there is a lot of bad. And we got to be aware of it. But we can't let it drag us down. When you let evil drag you down, then evil wins. So thank you to each and every one of you for your positivity, your encouragement, and your support for the great work that we do here on Crime Time with DutyRon. And I say we, meaning us. We all do it together. This is not me and Ed talking to you. This is us collectively together as a team for good. A team for law and order, a team for what's right and wrong, a team for good, a team that supports each other. And that's what this is about. So if you're not yet a part of this team, consider becoming a part of the team. Come on over from the dark side and hang out with the good. I'm sending you guys a lot of love and respect from my house to yours, as I always like to end this and all live streams. God bless the world. God bless the United States of America. And God bless each and every one of us here in the chat, but especially all the victims of crime and their families. They need us now more than ever. Let's send them strength, prayers, and positive vibes tonight and every night, today and every day. God bless from New York, and thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Peace, everybody.